I've been fiddling with web storage. I know I did a video recently about local storage and storing the state of checkboxes and text inputs. This right here shows you how you can create a theme and let local storage of your browser save your theme for you as well. Now the website address is right here, and if you cannot see that, I'll just put it real quick on here so you can check it out yourself. Okay, https://mdn.github.io/dom-examples/web-storage. So go there and you can learn how to do this as well. Now, this is what I got started with. If you click here, you can take this and pick any background color you want. And they've given you 3 different styles for the font family. You could change that as well. I'm going to go with the monospace. And then you can choose the image between Firefox, Crocodile, and Tortoise. Then if you leave that website and go back, your particular browser will have saved it. There's a few things that this has that doesn't work. I'm not really sure why. There's a link here that lets you go to the W3C Web Storage API. I'm going to right click that and open it in a new tab so it doesn't open over top. I'm not really sure, but this gives you another link to go to that talks about the HTML standard, and it says the last update was February 27th of 2019, so it's pretty local. I mean, not local, recent information. That's what you get when you're looking, reading, and talking at the same time. So there's a lot of different information here that you can learn. But this says you can also visit the storage event output, which opens in a new tab. What this was supposed to do is it was supposed to show you keys and values, new values, URL, and storage area. And if you go back to the main page and you made a change, you make a change, and then you go here, it was supposed to show you the changes. Well, this doesn't work. I'm not sure why, but it would be interesting for me to figure out how to fix that code so that you could go from page to page with it functioning properly. But I took as much information as I could from this website, including, let's see, how did I get to this? Well, I was really doing some research and digging, and I wound up getting a page that gave me the code to do this and all the different files that you needed. But I think I'm still missing some files. If I right click this page and hit view page source, you get a lot of valuable information here. Here it says the style sheet. I don't think that's going to give it to me, but I'm going to right click it and open link in new tab. Oh, it does give me a style sheet. Okay, so that's the style.css, and you can copy and paste that. And let's go back, right click it again, view page source. So that was the style. What else can I find? This is an example. This example is designed to demonstrate use of the HTML5 web storage. If I right click this and open link in new tab, let's see what that gives me. Well, that just gives me another this, so I don't want that. There's other things that I found here. Oh, image source, images, /firefoxos.ping. Right click that, open in new tab. And then here's a ping image. I guess you can save image as, and then on your desktop, let's see what happens. Fox, save, let's see if that's what I get. Okay, so I have the fox that way. Oh, I'm losing where I was. Script, source, main.js. Right click that, open link in new tab, and here is my main.js JavaScript. So this is how I got quite a few of the files, but I do believe that I'm still missing files because, again, I can't get that one page to work, that storage event output, this one. Let's see what happens if I right click this and look at view page source. What do I have here? Here's the style sheet. You can technically copy and paste this and call it event.html, but you still need to be able to reference some of the information here. So let's right click this and open link in new tab. So again, this says web storage style.css. This might be the same. This is probably the same CSS file I looked at already. Index. Here's an event.js. Is that any different? Web storage event.js. So with a little bit of information I was able to get to right click. Again, you're on the page, you right click, you view page source, and then you kind of gloss through this and right click the style.css and here, jscolor / jscolor.js. Let's try that. Open link in new tab. And this gives you the long, this is a very long JavaScript file to choose the background color. And it's really long. And it's complicated. This is for the more advanced programmer. But if you want to copy and paste this and just call it jscolor.js and put it in a folder called jscolor, you can play around with the file. But like I said, I really wanted to figure out how this worked. And I'm just not sure what I'm missing, but I'm sure I'm missing something that they don't have a link to. So the best of my ability to be able to access files that are already here for you to look at, I was able to come up with this. And my headers is something new that I added, because up here it was nothing you could change. It just said what did it say? Web. It said web storage. I think that's all it said was web storage up here. But I wanted to test the features that they had for the background color, font style, and image. I wanted to test the ability to change the header as well. So that's something that I added by emulating the code that was already presented to me. And so here I've got various headers, and basically all of these are welcoming different people that I have different images for as well. Choose image. I've got a variety of family members here. I also have some random pictures. Clock, golf, doodle, lily. Now you may notice that the width, it's not always a circle. Sometimes the image is more of an oval. I'll start here at the bottom. I've got these in alphabetical order. And I can just hit my up key, my up arrow on my keypad. So far they look, now see, we went from a wider circle to more of an oval there. More of an oval, more of an oval. Now wide again, really wide, more of an oval. And, you know, so basically the reason this is because I have only the height set for my image tag, not the height and width. Now I can set the height and width, and what it'll do is it will force the image to be the perfect circle that I want, or the perfect height and width for every single one of these. But if my image isn't saved in the exact same dimensions, if all images are not saved in the exact same dimensions, then you're going to get skewed images. So it might make the face is fatter or thinner than the actual image, and I didn't want to skew them, so I left the width off of the setting in the CSS and just gave it a height. So at least it doesn't get any bigger height-wise, it just gets bigger width-wise. And this works fine. I can show you the different font families that I used. That's Impact. That is cursive, very small. Monospace, serif, sans serif, and that's it. There's sans serif, serif, monospace, cursive, Impact, Corbel. Background color. This is where the super long JavaScript file that I showed you how to access, it gives you the ability to change the background color by moving your cursor around. Now something that's missing here, and I don't know how, I was moving different files into different folders, and somehow I lost the picture that is supposed to be right here that shows you where you can put your crosshairs if you want to go to a blue, a red, a green, or whatnot. Here you're kind of just, it's a shot in the dark. It'll still change the background color, but it's kind of weird that that image isn't right here. So somehow I've got to figure out how I lost that path, because I do have the image, it's just not showing here. Something broke in my code. But I can change all of this, and I can even go darker or lighter here, and change this. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4 things that are being changed on the web page. Close out of it, go back in it, hit it again, and the same thing, it'll be there. It'll be there till next Tuesday or whatever, as long as somebody doesn't come in here and change it. Now the neat thing about local storage is it's based on your browser, and it's also based on path. Now just like I showed you, somehow I lost my path for this image that belongs in this rectangle right here, so you can see what color you want to deal with. I lost the path, so that piece is broken, but I have this exact same setup with all these files in each one of these folders. So in this first folder, you can see how I saved it. Tina, pink, background, Corbel font. Now I can go into this folder, and it will have a totally different save. This is what I saved in this folder. And then this is what I saved in this folder. So actually I've already got a Tina and a Jeremy saved, but I messed up my Sean folder by showing you how it works. So I can go back here. Sean for the header, Sean for the image, Impact for the font, and a type of blue for the background. That almost matches his hat. Go out of there, go back in it, and voila, it's still there. One thing I would like to do with this, I have different ideas. Obviously, I'm working with something that's very close to the original author's file, so I would like to change this up a little bit different and practice with it so that I just get used to how the code works as far as playing with the DOM and the elements and manipulating them. So I'll be doing some slight alterations there. I would also like to come up with like a switch case statement so that instead of choosing an image and a header individually, I could choose a name, and based on the name, the header and the image would both change instead of having two different drop-down lists, because here I can have the header say hi Grandma Lisa and the image would be Sean. This is a way to go if you want to keep every element exclusive with its own choices, but it might make more sense to me if I were to somehow incorporate both of these to do the same thing, and still let the user have the individual control over the font and over the background color, maybe. You know, either that or come up with one single drop-down list that changes all four things based on a choice that you make. So that's like something I'd like to work with. I can go over some of this code really quick, and you can pause it. I mean, I already showed you where to go to and how to get the code yourself online, and but if you want me to go over the code really quick here, I can do that as well, except for that big long JavaScript file that deals with this part. That you're going to have to get it yourself, because that would probably take an hour and a half of me reading all of it, just that file, because it's that big. So let me go out of here. The important web page file that starts everything, this would be what you would call index.html. I called it savestyle.html, but you can name it whatever you want as long as you give it the HTML prefix. Alright, so this is the web page. You got your doc type definition, your opening HTML tag, your opening head tag. In between the opening closing head tag, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little statements here. You got your meta char set to UTF-8. Then you've got this meta HTTP equiv setting. Next we have this meta name equals viewport, content equals width equals device width. Here's a title that says Web Storage API Example, which I wanted to keep. That way if I lost my code, I would know how to Google it and find it again. This right here is linking to the external style sheet. It's in a folder called box, and the style sheet's called savestyle.css. And there's the ending head tag, so let's close that up. Here's the opening body tag. After that we have an opening div with a class of wrapper. After that we have h1, which is our header, and default says web local storage. Of course, you don't ever see web local storage once you start saving things, because my drop-down list gives me other headings and it doesn't give me web local storage for default, so maybe I should make that change. In case someone doesn't want to make the choice of the headings that I offered, I should make a change so that there's a default. So this is being changed. We are targeting the h1 to make changes to what the inner HTML is for that. We're also targeting the p tag, and we're not targeting the inner HTML of the p like we are with the h1. We're targeting the font family, the style of the font. So based on this code, you can do either or. If you want to change what's in the content, you can do this as well. But right now we're just we're attacking the style for the p, the style of the font. So you don't have to worry about this stuff in here. You could go blah blah blah, because this is not what's important. What's important is that we're dealing with the p tag and the h1 tag. Then we have a form. We gave it an ID called myForm. This isn't so much important because, as you can see, we're targeting an element outside of the form. This is one element outside of the form. This is another element outside of the form. And then we have a couple of things that we're targeting inside of the form that are our drop-down lists. Inside of our form, in these divs, this label and this input are both what that really long JavaScript file use to change the background color. Alright, so that's that. This in the next div here, label for font and select ID equals font. This ID is important because our JavaScript is going to manipulate these different options to save style. So here we've got one option that has a couple of different font families here, Open Sans Condensed or Sans Serif, and this is what the user sees as far as the drop-down list goes. They just see what's in between the tags. And there's a different font family, a different font family, different font family, and so on and so forth until we get to the end. Then we have our ending select tag and our ending div tag. So this is creating our drop-down list to change the paragraph's font family. Next, we've got a rather large div here that gives me a lot of different options for the images. So label for image, choose image, select ID equals image, and this ID is what we're going to use in JavaScript to manipulate the choices. Option value equals, and we're pointing to the path to that particular image. And then we're going to give it a name so that the user knows when they hit the drop-down list what they're clicking. And there's the ending option tag. So here, this is just the same pattern over and over again with paths to many, many, many different images that I'm using. And there's your end select and your ending div tag. Next div. This one is changing the header. And based on my images, I put a name to every image that is a family member. I'm not going to have a header saying, "Hi Lily," when it's talking about a flower. I'm not going to have a header that says, "Hello clock." I only wanted to choose names of people. So if someone chose a person's name, the header would go along with that. So that's why there are fewer items in this particular div than there were in the images. You don't have to have the same number of options for every drop-down list you have. That's the last div. That's the last div of the form. So there's the closing form tag. Image source equals an empty string. This is where the image that you choose is going to reside. Whenever you pick one up here, it's going to fit right in here. This ending div tag represents the ending to the wrapper div, which the wrapper div encloses everything in the body. And here's your ending body tag. And then strangely I say, because I don't believe I've ever done this before, normally I put the link to my external scripts in the head, sometimes in the body, but here they stuck the link to both of these scripts underneath the closing body tag. So I'm not really sure I understand why that is. I did try to take both of these and put them in the head, and my page broke. I can try it right now and show you. I can cut it out of from this location, and I can put it in the head where I'm used to it being. Let me open the head back up. Put it right here. So now we're linking to the external JavaScript where I normally put it. I can save this. I'm going to run it in Firefox because that's what I've been using. And it didn't save anything. Matter of fact, since I took my width off of this circle which holds the image, this completely collapsed. This isn't even making the changes at all to my background. And let's see, will it change? It's not changing my text. It's not doing anything for the image at all. And it's doing nothing. A whole bunch of nothing. So that completely does not work in the head. You cannot think that will work. It won't. Now let me cut it out of there, and out of curiosity I'm going to place it not after the close of the body, but I'm going to place it before the close of the body, because that's what I'm used to as well. Either putting it in the head or putting it at the end of the body, but not after the body ends. So let's see if it works here. Oh, okay, that's interesting. This pulled what I saved. And let's see if I can save it, or if everything else will work. It looks like it's making the changes to the background. Let's see if it changes. Okay, it changed my font family. Let's change the image, and let's change the header. So see, what I need to do as well is in my header drop-down list, I need to create something called default so that we don't always target this to a person, because there may be an image that you save down here that has nothing to do with the person up there. So you should always have some type of default in your drop-down list in case the selections are nothing that the user wants to pick. So let's close out of this, and let's run it again and see if it's saved. And it did. Alright, so I guess I don't know the difference between saving JavaScript links before the body closes or after the body closes, because for me it worked whether it was up here or down here. So yeah, I'll have to Google that. What's the difference between there or there? Maybe because it's still in the HTML, it's not outside of the HTML. Maybe it's okay because it doesn't matter if it's in the body. It could be out of the body, just not out of the HTML. Who knows? Yep, still works. Alright, let me do what I said I was going to do with the heading options. Let's see. Do we have any defaults anywhere else? I guess I can just copy this, and I can say the default value would be Webpage. Let's see. Let's call it that. What I'm putting in my, maybe I'll just put Webpage storage, web storage. I'll call it that. Where is it? Right here. That will be the value. And the option I'll just say is default. Or pick a header or heading. Pick a heading. Let's run that. Choose a header. Pick a heading. When I hit pick a heading, I get my default web storage. And then I can pick all these other possibilities. With that being said, I guess I could make a default for image as well. But I really got to figure out where my image went for in here, because that's crazy. Alright, working. Alright, so I think I showed you everything, even the things that I thought were strange. So there's the SavingStyles.html. What else is important for me to show you? In the box, I could not get my event.html and my event.js to work. That was that secondary page that I showed you. Even while I accessed it online, it wasn't even working there. So that's something I'll have to research and figure out how to fix. But I should show you these three files. Save heading. No, not save heading. Whoa, shoot. Save heading is something that I was experimenting with because when I incorporated the heading, initially it wasn't working like all the other styles were. And I thought I needed to create my own function for that, but I don't. I just am not deleting this because I think I want to try to use this code for future reference for something totally different. So I will show you the SavingStyle.css and the SavingStyle.js files. SavingStyle.css, this is what I copied and pasted, what I showed you at the beginning of this video, how you can right-click the web page and hit View Source, and then meticulously read through there and look for the style link and look for the JavaScript link. Well, this is completely all their code. I don't know what this means, just an asterisk. I believe asterisk means all. So this would be styling everything, giving everything box sizing, border box. That's my guess. If it's something different, I don't know what it is. The HTML in the body has a margin set to 0. HTML by itself has a font size and a font family set. Then under their comment typography, they have given the H1 tag a font size. Also for the paragraph, the form, and any list items that there may be. I don't remember seeing a list item, but anyway, there's font size, line height, and font family. And then underneath the comment layout and styles, there's a style for HTML, 2 styles for HTML. A whole lot of stuff going on for the body. Okay, then a div with a class of wrapper inside of the body gets those styles. Any divs inside of the body gets a width. I don't remember ever using anything like that either. 2 of these greater than symbols, which basically they're pointers. I think this means in the body, any divs, and any divs inside any divs. Pretty sure that's how I would read that. Okay, all kind of stuff going on for the h1 tag, which is our header. Then we've got everything inside of the form tag. Basically, you've got labels inside of divs inside of the form tag. That's how you would read that. Those three styles for that. Here, the input inside of a div inside of a form and the select inside of a div inside of a form gets a right float. The forms divs input gets 2 styles. The forms div select gets a style. The forms divs option gets a height. The forms divs and the footer, which I don't remember seeing a footer. Maybe there isn't a footer. I don't remember seeing a footer. But I guess if you have a footer, that's what it would have. For the image, there's a bunch of styles. And this is what I was telling you about right here. If you give your image a height and a width, which originally I did, then it's a perfect circle. If it's the height and the width are the same, it's a perfect circle. But if some of the images that I have in my files are not a perfect square, then it's going to skew the image. So I'm going to give it this perfect circle, both here and down here. We have some @medias, which the @media with a max width, this is basically changing styles depending on the width of our screen. So it's changing the styles that way, which is a good way to do. So I'm going to highlight here where I've actually given my width back. So we have a perfect circle. And I have to do the same thing in here. So our @media max width of 800 pixels, the divs inside of the body have a certain width. And then if you get an even smaller, where a max width of 600 pixels, we change the style for the H. We change the style for the form div label. We change the style for the form div input and the form div select. We change the style for the form div. And here we're changing the style for the image. And again, I had z'd out the width so that I only had a height, so it would not skew it. But now I'm going to skew it again so you can see. And lastly, the button with the ID of BTN, I gave a float. I think that's the only style that I gave, if I'm not mistaken. So we're going to save that. And let me run my page again so I can show you that it's not a big deal, but the images will be skewed now. So here we start off with Sean. Whoops, I always think that that's the image. Here's the image. Say I have that selected. I'm going to hit my up key. There's me. Now you see that the circle stays a circle no matter whose picture is in there. It's not a big deal. It's not like, oh my God, I can tell that that's skewed, but it is making some people's faces a little wider and some people's faces a little more narrow than the original picture. See, that kind of looks like that might be stretching his face. I don't think his face is that wide. Now, it does look nicer for this image circle to not be changing sizes. So the way that you would correct that is just open all your pictures up in Paint and do the best you can to crop and resize so that all of your images are the same width and height, so that you can use this same circle and keep the consistency on your page. That would be my advice, trying to make all your images the same. Alright, where was I? So I finished the SavingStyle.css. Let's look at the SavingStyle.javascript. This is the important code that lets us save our stuff into local storage so that you have the same theme every time you leave your page and come back. Our first line of code, here's our note to ourselves. We're going to create a variable name to represent the page element that you're styling. So this first one, var HTML LLM equals document.query selector parentheses and quotes HTML. So here we're targeting the HTML tag, and this targeting, we're going to use this variable HTML LM to do things with our HTML. So we need this to change our background color. We need this to maneuver our paragraph font family. And we're creating var p-lm equals document.query selector, and we are going to target the p tag. We're going to do the same thing for our images. Var image lm equals document.query selector, and we're going to target the image tag. And then var h1 lm equals document.query selector, and we're targeting the h1. So this is all targeting certain elements on our page, and then putting using variables, assigning variables to those targets so that we can maneuver what we want to maneuver. The next thing is create a variable name to represent the select list that you're using. So here we need a variable that's going to target a certain color, another variable that's going to target a font. Image form is going to target the element for image, and the demo is we're going to use this variable. So all the variables are names you're choosing. I liked the way they used lm after all of this. It made it kind of consistent so that I didn't have to go, oh, what should I name this? Because a lot of times if you don't have a consistency in your naming conventions, it's just too easy to get confused. This way we had a consistency of what each of these lines do, and I just needed to copy their pattern when I added a new element that I wanted to maneuver or manipulate with my styles. So anyway, this is an ID. We have an ID of BG color, we have an ID of font, we have an ID of image, and we have an ID of demo. So the document.getElementById side is going to target the element with that ID, and then we're going to assign it to what's on the left here, which is a variable name. Again, when we create a variable name, it's so that we can maneuver through our JavaScript code by using these variable names. We can manipulate the things that we're targeting. All right, and basically this is targeting the drop-down list for the H1 header message. This is targeting the drop-down list that picks a path to a certain image that you want to look at. This is targeting a certain font that you want to use, and this is targeting a specific background color that you want to use. If there's not a saved value for BG color, then call populate storage. If there is a value for BG color, then call SetStyles. So this if condition is going to make the decision whether there's already stuff in local storage to retrieve, and if there's not already stuff in local storage to retrieve, then we're going to call a function that's going to save what you want to save now instead of looking for something that's not there. And here's the condition: if not local storage.getItem BG color, then we're going to call populate storage. If there's already stuff in local storage, then this will not be true, so we'll skip this and we'll go to the else statement, and we're going to call SetStyles. And the SetStyles is going to set the new things that you happen to choose in your drop-down list and the new color and all this stuff. All right, so this was an important decision-making part of the code. This note says local storage.setItem uses key value pairs to stamp your choices into local storage. So here's our populate storage function, and it's pretty easy. You know, it only goes from here to here. It's a short function, but we're using local storage.setItem. What are we setting? We need to set a key value pair so that our browser can hold that in its memory. And this is the key. It's the ID that we created for all those things, and this is the value. This is the ID, this is the key, and document.getElementById parentheses and quotes bgcolor.value. This is the value of whatever you happen to be choosing in your drop-down list, or your background color, or the name of the font family you want to use. This one is dealing with the background color, setting the background color. This is setting the font. This one is setting the image of your choice. And this one is setting the inner HTML of the header. So this is going to set up your header text. Then after we do all of this to set all that stuff into local storage, we call the setStyles function. So even though this up here is asking a question to make the decision if they call this function or this function, if we call this function, it runs this first and then it calls this right afterwards anyway, because it's going to call it right here, right before the end of the function. So let's look at the setStyles function, because that's going to pop off. Whether it pops off as soon as the web page loads or whether it pops off after it saves new stuff, it pops off every time. So here's function setStyles, and here's my note. Local storage.getItem retrieves your saved choices by calling those keys from each of your select option drop-down lists. Those values are put into variables that indicate current choices. So on the right-hand side of the assignment statement, we have local storage.getItem, and in order to retrieve, all we have to do is tell it what key that we want. And by telling it the key, it's going to give us the value. And this is like an equation that's going to give us a value, and that value is going to go into this variable called current color, which, as you can see everywhere that it's highlighted, we use current color here, we use current color here, and we use current color here, all the way to the end basically of our code here. So under setStyles, the first line, var current color equals local storage.getItem parentheses and quotes BG color. Next, var current font equals local storage.getItem parentheses quotes font. Next, var current image equals local storage.getItem parentheses and quotes image. And then finally, var current h1 equals local storage.getItem parentheses and quotes demo. Okay, so we used getItem with the key to get the value. We're digging it out of local storage. It's already been saved. We're putting it into this variable. Then the value is already in this variable. The color is already decided, and it's being retrieved. GetItem means getItem. They're retrieving the value, and they're putting it in here. So the current chosen color is in this variable. It's in here, and we're assigning it to this. Document getElementById ID, parentheses and quotes, BG color dot value. So in memory, we're grabbing it in memory, and then the data is here, and then we want it to be there. We want to take the choice and bring it back. We do that 4 times. Document getElementById, parentheses font, parentheses quotes font dot value equals current font. Again, whenever you've got the assignment single equals, you look at what's going on. Whatever's on the right-hand side is going into the left-hand side. It's being assigned from right to left. So current image, we dug current, we use local storage.getItem to dig up what's the last image that was saved. That value goes into current image. It's down here, the value's in here, and now we want to make sure that document.getElementById, that part of the element that has the ID of image, it's going to be the value of that. So we're basically taking information, putting it in variables, and putting it in the memory of the browser, and then you're pulling it out with the code. Same thing for my last the thing I added. Document.getElementById, parentheses quotes demo.value equals current h1. Okay, almost done. Show your current choices in your web page's output. These choices will remain on your web page even after you close it and come back another day. Again, we have a single equal sign, so we're going to look at what's on the right first. Current color, we've already dug it out of the memory, the browser's memory. We dug it out of the browser's memory. We stuck it in this variable. It's over here on the right-hand side, and then we stuck it here, and now we want to display it And so here we have whatever that value of current color is. I'm going to say red, but we're using hex color. So you always, when you set hex color, you use a pound symbol in front of a 6-digit letter number combination. So we add the pound symbol string plus the value of the current color, which is going to be some 6-digit combination, and then we are going to stick it in this part of the statement. html.elem.style.background color is, it's going to be whatever we pulled out of local storage, or whatever we are changing it to. Same thing with whatever the value of font is. All these places that we grabbed it, we put it here, and then we had it here, and then we put it here. Now we have it here, and we're going to put it here. The plm.style.font family will be this. This is a little different. This doesn't have an equals. This threw me off because this was the third thing before I added my H1. I wasn't sure how to deal with the H1 because notice these are a little bit different. For the HTML, we used, this was the original variable that we set up way up here for the HTML tag. We used this to target the HTML tag. We used this to target the P tag. We used this to target the IMG tag. And we used this to target the H1 tag. So this is what we started with, and this is what we're ending with. Here we used .style.background color equals. Here we used .style.font family equals. Here we used .setAttribute, and there's no equals. So with the H1, I wasn't changing a background color, I wasn't changing a font family, and I wasn't setting a source attribute. So I had to really think, what am I doing? I want to change the text of the H1 tag. So originally I did some weird stuff like H1 elem dot, I don't know what I put, but I put something else in between this dot, and then I had another dot between that variable and this. I tried a lot of things and I just kept failing, and finally I got it to work and I was like, yahoo. So this is how I changed the text. h1lm.innerHTML equals current H1. Oh, but I skipped over this because I told you this one threw me off and made it harder for me to understand what to put down here. ImageLM.setAttribute. Now because we need to set a source to the image tag, that's why we used the dot, that's why they used the .setAttribute. Now what attribute are we setting? We're setting the source, the src, and we're going to set it to the path. The value of current image is going to be a path to a certain chosen image. Alright, so that's quite a mouthful. Then finally down here, this deals with when you make a change. So yeah, it's all fine and dandy when you leave the page and you come back and you have your saving, but you need to make sure that if you make any changes while your page is open, that change goes into the populate storage function. So that's where we have this bgcolorform.onChange equals populate storage, and fontform.onChange equals populate storage, imageform.onChange equals populate storage, and finally h1form.onChange equals populate storage. Alright, so that's everything in SavingStyles.js. With all of the code that I gave you, you should be able to do everything except choose the background color. That you really need to research the W3C web storage API and find that page that looks like this, right click it, view page source, and then look for things like the style sheet, right click and open it in a new tab. You also want to find the JavaScript, which will be at the bottom. Box JS color, save style color. This is mine because I hit view source of my own page, but when you look at the one online, you'll get their page. And you want to right-click both of these and open link in new tab, and then copy and paste that information and save it, and then point to it accordingly to your own code so that you can mess around with it, because it's fun. Okay, so that brings to a close this video, and I hope it's not too long, but I have a funny feeling it is. All my videos are too long.